You've decided to go out sketching. Good for you. And you put your pencils and an eraser, your watercolours, some brushes, a couple of water pots, drawing boards and clips, all in your bag, and then you give up because frankly you need a donkey to carry everything that you want to take with you. I believe in keeping things as light and easy as possible, so I want to introduce you to a pen that I think is best for sketching, and that is all the equipment you need to go out and do some line and wash. So my name's Liz Chaderton. I'm a watercolour artist based in Berkshire, and every week I bring you a tip, trick or technique that I wish someone had told me when I started painting. And this week it is my recommendation for the best pen for sketching. So this is the Stabilo or Stabilo, I'm not sure which it is, pen that I say is the best pen for sketching because it's your line and your wash all in one pen. So it's fantastic when you're out and about. And if you're going out sketching, you really want to keep everything to a minimum, because if you have to take the kitchen sink with you, you're not going to do it. Let me just introduce you to the pen. So it's the Stabilo .88. They've been around since the 70s, and according to the company, they have sold 3 billion of these. You'll recognise it because it's this orange and white hexagon, so they don't tend to roll away, which is always handy. They come in 55 colours. But for sketching, I would suggest the black, which is number 46, or the brown, which is a sepia colour, and that's number 45. They last forever. They're very affordable. They'll be less than £1. If you buy them in boxes of 10, they're probably only about 50p, to be honest. They're all the same width, so it's a 0.4mm nib. And it's got a metal casing, so they're pretty hard wearing, pretty robust. The ink is designed to have a really long cap off life, so it will not dry out. Because if you're outside sketching, maybe if you're like me, you kind of forget to put lids on, you're all excited about what you're doing. So they're designed not to dry out. You can obviously tell what colour they are by the colour of the lid and the colour of the base. I like to use a water brush when I'm out and about, because if I took a pot of water I'd probably end up with a dog drinking out of it, or I'd knock it over. So water brush where you've got the water in the barrel is really handy, and then, as I say, a bit of tissue just to clean off your brush if you need to. Let's have a look at some sketches and what the Stabilo 88 looks like when you're using it. This is a really quick sketch of a watermill at Maple Durham on the River Thames. This is another sketch of Maple Durham watermill, but a lot more developed. So I've put layers of the pen on and then moved them with water and then put more layers on. And you can see over here, and I'll show you that in a moment, is that if you want to have ink to paint with rather than just having the line of the pen, if you scribble a nice dense patch, you can pick it up with your water brush and then paint with it. And this picture is slightly more developed still, so I've used the black pen and then I've added some watercolour at the end. The joy of the pen is that even though it will move with water to form that lovely tone in the wash, once you've done that, it sets itself, so when you add the watercolour over the top, it doesn't particularly muddy the watercolour, so you can achieve beautiful colours. And then I wanted to show why I love this pen so much. So I did these little sketches of lemurs at London Zoo, and these animals do not stay still. There's a surprise, you know, they're moving all the time. So this pen is fantastic for capturing the pose. That's my favourite one. And then when they've skedaddled off, which they're going to do, you can use the water to add the tone and develop a bit of muscle and mass to them. So it's a really quick, versatile way of capturing moving subjects. So let's have a quick look at how the pen works, or how I'd suggest using it. So we'll just do a simple sphere. This is on cartridge paper in my sketchbook, so nothing posh. You can just use water and you can see how you can pull the ink out to add tone, and that's where you've got your line and wash all in one pen. You can lift away to a certain extent, but because it is dye-based ink, it does sink into the paper very, very quickly. Now that's obviously quite pale, and you've got two options. You could either let it dry and then do the same all over the top. You could certainly have more dense shading just initially, and the more ink on the paper, the more the tone. So certainly if you plan ahead, you can get far darker shading. Or you can scribble a dense patch on a spare bit of paper and use your water brush. Oops, that's too much water. Sorry, that's splodged there. I'll have to do another one now. Use your water brush to pick up a bit of the ink and then actually to paint with the ink rather than draw with the pen. And the big advantage there, of course, is you don't get any of the remaining lines. You can see that the lines virtually disappear. The other thing that works really well, if you happen to have something plastic or acrylic with you, this is my little paint box, you can actually scribble on that plastic. It doesn't absorb into the paper. Then pick up the ink with your brush and you get a darker ink to work with. So that works really well if you've got that with you. What you'll find, I'm just going to dampen this paper slightly, is that if you put ink onto a damp piece of paper, it doesn't then move as well. You always end up with the lines showing very, very clearly. On dry paper, more of that ink moves. The other way I like to use it, say you're drawing a tree. You can see, oh, what a fantastic artist I am. Look at that beautiful tree I'm drawing. And I am joking here. You know, you can use a little spray bottle to loosen your sketch and to get these lovely random marks, and suddenly that awful tree that I'd drawn maybe doesn't look quite as bad. Might want to sharpen up that trunk. Let's put a bit more dark in, whatever. But you can get these beautiful random marks using that little spray bottle. So if you've got space in your sketch kit, maybe adding that spray bottle as well as your pen, water brush and a little bit of tissue would be no bad thing. The final thing I'll say is that the line remains active forever. If you've just put a line down and you came back to it 2 years later, you would still be able to move it. And depending on your paper, you can virtually erase it. Can you see that that line, I mean, yes, of course it's still there, but it has pretty much gone. But once you have added water to it, perhaps we can just show you up here, it doesn't then move again, which is brilliant. So if you did your drawing, you've added your water, you've developed your tone, let it dry, you could put watercolour on top and it won't muddy up, but you won't get the black going into all the watercolour, so you can still get really lovely clear watercolours because the water seems to actually set the ink. I don't know the chemistry of that and how it works, but that's what it does. That is your incredibly versatile Stabilo 88. So here's the pen in action, just a very quick sketch of a kingfisher, so you can see the lines, adding a bit of water, adding a few layers, and I hope it shows why I think this is such a versatile and interesting pen to add to your sketching kit.